Martin,
I
have
agree
you
with that.
changed from your previous valuation at all?
Uh, I don't think the company's changed now. It's like $6. Yeah.
Because after you did your valuation, I did a valuation with, PE and PB and a lot of different other metrics, and I came to about 750 to 10, maybe 679 as the average of all the different indicators I was looking at.
Sounds about right. Sounds about right. Yeah.
Hey Martin, how are you doing? Can you hear me?
What's up?
Hey, I don't have any feelings with about GameStop. I do have
Oh,
a 50 cash secure puts on strike at 20 expiring next month. So I do hope it stays like the same or doesn't drop below 20. But my question is that what do you think if like GNE starts buying Bitcoin? what
what?
what do you think? What if like a GNE they have a bunch of cash now, right? They did a stock sale. So what if they just like stop buying Bitcoin, like go into crypto and stuff, buy?
Yeah, I mean, I actually suggested they do this. The problem is that change if you exchange the cash in your balance sheet for another form of cash, it's hard for me to see how that increases the value of the company very much. It could be good for a short-term pump, but
Yeah,
then after 3 months or 6 months, you have to live with, okay, we're a Bitcoin holding company. Like,
but they can stop pivoting, right? If they have Bitcoin, right? They can say that they are more than just like a game, like a traditional retail store.
yeah, but then they have less cash for acquisitions.
Oh, they are not
Where
acquiring anything, man. Like, what can they acquire with $2 billion?
any company up to $2 billion, I'm pretty sure.
Like, so what do you think about all the GameStop people on Twitter are saying that they're gonna do a merge with the teddy? Is that what they're called? The teddy bear? Uh,
Well, they have to do something because the GameStop business itself sucks. Even Warren Kitty said
yeah, I
that. So
agree. I agree.
I'm glad people have given up that bullshit because it's pretty hard
Uh,
to turn that thing around.
but you do agree that like there's a path to become something else if they go into crypto, right? Like if they start buying Bitcoin.
Uh, yeah, but like, so so he, so they buy Bitcoin. Now it's a Bitcoin ETF.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Why is that? There's plenty of those. And what if Bitcoin goes down? Being a Bitcoin ETF sounds exciting now, but when MicroStrategy was close to bankruptcy, it wasn't that exciting.
Okay, Martin, I have a last question for you, right? So are you have you met any GameStop apes in real life? It seems like a lot of people are trying to get you in real life, man. Are you scared?
No, I'm not
Okay.
scared. Um, um, yeah, GameStop is just a stock. I think people make stocks out to be more than they are, and the people who do that usually lose money. It's just four, well, in this case, just 3 or 4 letters on a screen, man. It's really not that big a deal. And your job is to make money, not to be obsessed with 3 letters or 4 letters on a screen. And all this time we spend talking about GameStop, we could be learning about ASML or Taiwan Semi or AMD or like really interesting companies and learning the details of them. Like you could be learning really, really great stuff, but it's not going to help you to learn one company. If you learn 50 companies, you can pick the very best one that you think is the best one at least. And there's no reason to say, no, I quit looking at companies. I found the best one. You didn't because NVIDIA was better than whatever else you bought in your portfolio last year. So you should have been working and finding that you should have bought Nvidia, but instead you were obsessing over one stock, maybe you had a day job, maybe you were in school, whatever. But if we had infinite time, we could look at every stock in the stock market, compare notes, carefully look at it, scrutinize it, and then say, okay, this is the best. Do you think so? Oh, no, no, I think this is the best. All right, let's debate that, and then we'll decide. And then after a while, you'll have a very good portfolio. The problem is we don't have all that time. But we should try anyway. And the time we do have, we are clearly wasting it, worried about one stupid stock. No matter how much you like it, there are a million other stocks, and this stupid stock is still being outperformed by some other stock out there that we all wish we'd rather have. So, just keep that in perspective. That, I was also on a space the other day. Another perspective that I think is really important. This guy was a big GameStop bull, which there's nothing wrong with being, but this guy was a total idiot. I said, if GameStop went to $10,000 a share, you'd be crazy if you didn't sell every share you had. And I tried to pick a number that was so high that nobody could disagree with it. And this guy, true soldier committed to the cause, said, I wouldn't sell it. I said, you're a moron. The company at $10,000 a share, I mean, can somebody do the math for me? I want to say, let's see, it's so $10,000 a share, it is a $5 trillion company. If you think GameStop can be a $5 trillion company right now from this, this price, I said, imagine tomorrow you wake up and it's what did I say, $10,000 a share. I wouldn't sell it. You'd be nuts. You'd be rushing to sell it because you'd be up a huge amount, and more importantly, this company is not worth that much, and that it will soon sink to the level where approximately is what it's worth, because other people will do the same calculation. Even if you say, I'm not going to sell, well, other people are.
Yeah, we all sold when it hit 400, 300, back in the days. So, yeah,
Clearly,
we
yeah.
did sell. So I know he was just talking. We sell because we know it was a squeeze. So,
yeah, I mean, everyone sells when they feel like they can no longer get upside from it, or that it's at a level that's just not supportable, and it's time to take your chips off the table, and that's fine. There's something normal with that, and that's why I was trying to put across to everyone that you got to figure out what that number is. And it might be different for everyone, but you decide what that number is and stick to it. And if the number is unrealistic, pick a realistic number, because it's not going to be a $5 trillion company. Now, there is something to be said for good management, and you have to change that number based on the facts. So, for example, let's say you think, okay, if it's at 40, I'm happy. Maybe I double my money or whatever. Or 100, I make 5x. But let's say then the company does a masterful acquisition, where it seems like they made a really shrewd move. Well, it's okay to change your number from 100 to say, now it's 150. Because of this shrewd move, the company's worth more. And I'm not going to sell it at 100 because I'd be shortchanging it. I want to keep it longer to benefit from the upside, and I don't want to sell Ryan going short. So you can update that number all the time if you want, but only update it if something actually changed. If nothing's changed and it hits your price target, you got to get out, because you agreed that this price wouldn't be supported. So what price is that? And that forces you to think a little bit about valuation, which I think is really important. You can also do that from a trading perspective too. At what price am I so happy with my short-term returns? For example, there's a concept called IRR that a lot of people don't understand. But if you make 10% in a month, that's better than making 50% in a year. Because if you get your calculator out, 1.1 to the 12th power versus 1.5, you get to recycle that money over and over again. So if you can keep that rate of return 10% a month, find another stock to make 10% in, you make an absolute fortune. And it doesn't sound that hard making 10% a month, but it is very hard.
I don't think this was about evaluation. It was all about the short squeeze. We know that, they were in over their heads, over 100% shorted. So that's why.
Well, you're talking about something that happened years ago.
Yeah.
We need to focus.
Well, they're saying, a lot of people are saying that they didn't get out of their short still. And it's still, what, 20% still shorted?
Well, who's they?
Different groups on Discord. But I could be wrong.
No,
It's
I think
just a
people
theory.
are shorting it, which would be the hedge funds.
What does Discord have to do with this? Hedge funds don't
Yeah.
use Discord.
I think you misunderstood, Marley.
But yeah, I don't think there are any secret cabal Illuminati hedge funds that are shorting it and have shorted it for 5 years. I think people maybe short it now after the squeeze, but I think that squeeze cleaned everyone out, you know. And anyone who was in the squeeze and shorted it is out. You know, got out pretty quickly after because it went down a lot, right? It went down a ton. So what's there left to short, you know? So the people shorting it now are shorting it because there's fresh meat on the bones, but it was looking like a skeleton for a little while there.
Yeah, I feel like COVID was a really crazy time too with, people were at home getting their stimulus checks and shit. There was a lot of opportunity for kind of like a cult of people to come around and create like a
Totally.
huge hype of volume there. And we definitely don't have that opportunity anymore. So, there's a guy who was saying like, oh yeah, I don't think it was the same as it was in 2021. It's definitely true.
Yeah, and hedge funds are now on
True,
alert,
true.
right? They're like, we don't want to be
I mean,
Melvin.
they got bailed out last time, so.
Hedge funds are a pretty sweet gig. You can make a lot of money just sitting there doing nothing. And to screw that up, you don't screw it up for anything. It'd be crazy to screw that up. So, you know, most of these guys I know who run these funds, pretty serious people. You know, they don't like to lose money. They don't want to lose their fund. They don't gamble. They got huge funds with tons of clients. Hell no. A lot of these guys changed their risk rules after this shit happened.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, the process of becoming a hedge fund manager is crazy too. So I don't think they're wanting to throw
Yeah,
their jobs away.
Yeah, exactly. Why would you lose all that income for what? Because you care, you want to short a stock? Hell
Yeah,
out of
no
here.
shot.
Yeah, just short 1% limits, and with a tight risk parameter that if this thing doubles, we're out. Market order out, done. And that's kind of fucked up some hedge funds. A lot of hedge funds are long only now. They say they're hedge funds, but they're barely shorting. Shorting is passe. I have a friend who manages a $6 billion hedge fund. I called him, said, I got a great short for you. I started to go into it. He said, Martin, I said, what? I said, I don't short anymore. I said, what? I said, we've been shorting together for 10 years. What are you, crazy? He said, it just doesn't work. All the stocks are going up. All they do is go up. All I do is lose money in shorts. I give up. I said, all right. Talk to you later, I guess.
Yeah,
That was the top. That was the top.
I think there's one thing that's been touched on here, but I'll just say it directly. One of the things about a couple of years ago as well is institutionals dramatically, there was a whole bunch of factors, COVID, money, we all know, but institutions dramatically underestimated the little guy and found it humorous and got killed. In history, warfare, sports, etc., you lose because you underestimate the opponent. People are not underestimating this time, and people think it's going to be a
Correct.
direct repeat, but as an institutional player and talking to people, other institutional guys, the game is out. It's not the same.
Agreed. Agreed completely. For a little while there, people were really even using the Reddit API, scraping the Wall Street Bets forum, looking for stocks that were being mentioned more, things like that. I think people stopped doing that, but because they were thinking, okay, what if another GameStop shows
But
up?
I'll give. I'm sorry, Martin, to cut you off. I'll
Go
just give
ahead.
you one other piece, and this is just completely anecdotal data, but there was a gentleman here that said it felt more retail. So I was not involved in this the first go around. I was like, this is stupid, and watched from afar, like a lot of people. In probably the last 4 months, 5 months, I've had a whole bunch of people that have never traded stocks before call me. These are people that don't even work in finance, but I went to college with or something like, about stocks, you do this for a living. what about GameStop? And I was like, GameStop, what the fuck is
Mm.
going on with GameStop? And then it was again, and these are people that saw the movie, saw the get rich quick, and got lured into it. And it reminds me, and Martin was around in the late 90s too, so he can tell you, it really reminds me of when everybody got their first E-Trade account and trades were $30, and you go
Mm.
to a party and everybody was a day trader all of a sudden.
Yep. There's Groucho Marx quote, right? There's a sucker born every minute. Um, no matter what happens, there's a new lesson, and it's happening in crypto too, where you know people aren't old enough to remember last. I hate this word, but the last quote unquote cycle where there was a ton of tiers with NFTs, and that we have something very similar to NFTs now called meme coins, and that they're a little more dynamic, but they still have the same kind of upside downside, which is a lot of downside, not a lot of upside. And occasionally you'll get a high flyer that goes crazy, and that high flyer motivates people to take a shot. Maybe maybe it'll go crazy, and you can make some money from a very small amount. But in some, of course, everyone's losing. But there are enough winners that one can fool themselves into thinking, well, I'm going to be that winner.
Yeah, I would just say to the retail guys on this, to the people that are, in this with $5,000, $10,000 PAs, which by the way, I'm not knocking that. Everybody's got to start somewhere. But you can play the what if game forever and you can listen to hours of this could happen, that could happen. There's an infinite number. But part of it, the more difficult part of that is the second part, which is attaching probabilities and likelihoods to those events. So I would just encourage people to think about what ifs, but what are the likelihoods of that and come up with that in your own head.
That's so smart. I think that's the real critical thing here is learning to think probabilistically. It is a spectrum of outcomes that could happen, and that spectrum exists with every stock on the planet. And your job as an investor is to evaluate that probability. All of a sudden, this got very boring, and less talk about Moon, less talk about Lambos, and more talk about realistic stuff, and it just sucks. And everyone wants to turn using call options. You find that hot stock, the next Nvidia, or maybe it's still Nvidia, and you use call options to turn, $1,000 to $1,000,000. It's possible, sure. It's more likely than not that one of those options trades on the way to a million will flip and bankrupt you. So you could be on the way with 500K. I did this once. I turned 2K to 500K and lost it all on a big options trade I put on. I was 19. So it's easy to fool yourself into thinking things, but you have to ask yourself what the probabilities are. There's actually some great tools out there. I guess I'm trying to build some of them myself, but a lot of people don't want tools. They want the gamble anyway. But there's a tool on Bloomberg. We haven't, on my platform, we haven't replicated it yet, but it's called HRH, which is Historical Return Histogram. And what's nice about HRH is it gives you a probability distribution function, which is a fancy word for a chart, of prior returns. So you can look at it's only unfortunately works for one stock at a time, but you can look at what is the most this stock has ever gone up in a day, in a month, in a year, in whatever. And you can realize that, okay, maybe I'm being unrealistic. Most stocks don't go up, more than X percent. You can also look at what are the 3 or 10 or 50 biggest returning stocks this year. And what you'll find is you may be surprised that the biggest returning stocks don't return that much. So if you think you can make 50x or 100x, go look at that list and you realize, well, wait a second. The very best stock, which I'm pretty sure I don't have, there's 8,000 of them. And if you think you got the best one, well, I got news for you. It's very unlikely that you got the best one. You can try to get the best one, but in any given year, what the very best 5, 10 stocks are, you're lucky if you got one of them. I'll say that.
Yeah,
I've been trading forever.
and Martin touched on this, which is those probabilities are not static. He said it in a different way, but each day, each piece of information, your probability of your outcomes going up or down. So let's just play the reverse of last week real quick. You had whatever your ideas were. You had three pieces of information that came really quickly, which was bad earnings, a CEO saying, "Oh yeah, I want to raise a lot of money at these levels," and a very lackluster event. And so, while it is possible that there are hidden messages in that live stream that are messages of genius, the Occam's razor, the more likely outcome is it's a no big whoop. And so you just got three or four big pieces of information between then and the 21st that are all negative. And the last one that we're waiting for, and there could always be a surprise, but is an earnings call and what he's going to do with those options. So that's massively negative. So I would just encourage people to think about that because I got family members that are not very financially sophisticated calling me, telling me that they got $3,000 in this thing. And quite frankly, I don't even think they should be allowed to open a brokerage account.
Well, I disagree with you there, of course. Everybody has their right
No,
to
not
do
these
what they
people. I'm
want.
talking about my specific family members because I know them.
Everyone has the right to open their own brokerage and do what they see fit. Of course, I don't disagree with you that if you see somebody driving 90 miles an hour off the side of a cliff and they say, no, 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 I know how to drive. Don't tell me how to drive. And you say, all right, pal. And then they crash the car, and then they say, I'm never driving again. It's fuck cars, stupid cars. And that's typically what happens when the dot-com trader um, lost all their money, which, as happened, and then, or as the, um, in this case, I think a lot of people, quite frankly, both in crypto as well as in meme stocks, gave up on them. Some of you were here from the $400 squeeze, but how many people bought at 400 and they were sitting at 10 for a year or two, or 20 or whatever, and they're just like, this fucking sucks. I'm never doing this again. Sell, close your account, and that's it. I think probably the majority of the first squeeze, that was it. Look at AMC, right? I see some people, sadly, they're like, oh, maybe he's going to pump AMC. It's like, no, I don't think so. Um, that's another dog. And that's why Wall Street stopped looking at Wall Street bets for ideas, because it was like, oh, their follow-up to GameStop was to squeeze AMC, which was like really, really sad. So I don't know.
That's one of the things that kills me. Everybody looking towards Kitty or somebody, even if it's a famous investor, you got the Burries or even politicians, everybody's looking for their hero in the markets. It's kind of funny hearing some of the people who were like attacking you a few weeks ago. One thing I kind of noticed is like stock markets almost become like representative of like sports teams where you have people who are like serious like fans and they'll like no matter what happens, no matter what anyone says, you can't apply logic to anything. They're diehards. You're starting to see that happen with more than just sports teams.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I think like the oldest adages in Wall Street were don't fall in love with stock, right? You're not marrying a stock. It's not gonna fucking love you back. Right? And I think the people that need GameStop for community are refusing to acknowledge what I'm acknowledging, which is that a lot of us need community and love and friendship. We all do. So we find that using a stock, we can do that. We find that using, a Discord group or some other place where we can affiliate and, learn to be friends and things like that. I wouldn't do it while imperiling my financial opportunities at the same time. That's kind of a scary thing because again, stocks are not things you're meant to marry and put away forever.